Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Welcome back to podcast 30 of 2019. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can tweet us at the Odds Breakers. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook / the Odds Breakers. We have a fantastic show for you today. We have a special guest that has written books on sports betting. His name is Scott Ernst. And today we cover a little bit about his book and some of the fundamentals it takes to be a disciplined and successful sports bettor. This episode is being brought to you by betonline.ag. For a 50% bonus, please visit theoddsbreakers.com/betonline. Terms and conditions apply. If you'd like to help us out and sponsor our podcast, we would love to help you out. Please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, and for $12.99 a month, you can become a premium member and get access to my plays and premium plays before the line moves. For $2 more, you can become a patron subscriber, get all that, plus the podcast a little bit early. And if nothing else, please visit theoddsbreakers.com and become a free picks newsletter subscriber. We are kind of rolling in the off season here. Well, we are still betting baseball via member plays, but there isn't a lot going on now that the NBA has ended and the NHL has ended. Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors have won the championship. Of course, lots of people are saying that was due to Golden State's injuries. Well, injuries happen in every single sport, and I think Golden State won a championship themselves when I believe it was the Cleveland Cavaliers when they lost Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love. And so, it happens. But that doesn't mean that Kawhi wouldn't have stepped his game up even higher if that's what it would have took to win. So I don't like it when people say that. I think the Raptors deserved it. I also think the Raptors definitely lucked into Kawhi Leonard at the expense of the San Antonio Spurs. And we see that happen in the NBA a little bit too much. But really nice to see a different team out there win the championship. And lots going on. We already have Anthony Davis traded to the Lakers. You have to wonder how that's going to work out. They're already the favorites to win the NBA championship next year. I'm going to pump the brakes on that one. I think it takes a little bit more than 2 stars as we've seen to accomplish that feat, especially when you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder. Have to see how they work together. Certainly won't be putting my money on the Lakers until I definitely learn a lot more and the odds are correct. But during the offseason, what we're working on is the same thing we've been working on. And NFL futures, conference futures, our premium clients have gotten premium plays for some of the college and NFL conference and division futures. So real happy that we're pumping that out. I've been working myself on the Big Ten, and we're going to be doing a large Big Ten preview coming up. But we have some more handicappers out there. We've done already some NASCAR posts, and I'm real excited to get Paul on the show and talk a little bit about some NASCAR, get you guys through the summer. We also have a sports book review specialist, and he's going to be coming on to talk about his website and how he reviews the actual sports books themselves, so you guys know exactly where to go. So we're still going to have a content-filled summer for you all, and we're already itching to get into football season. All right, without further ado, let's get into our guest, Scott Ernst, to talk about his book, Ernst's Guide on Fundamental Sports Betting Concepts and Skills. Now I'm very excited to welcome a very sharp guy from Las Vegas, Nevada, who is a self-taught expert in sports betting. You can find his book, Ernst Guidebook on Fundamental Sports Betting Concepts and Skills, on Amazon.com. I am pleased to welcome Scott Ernst. You can follow him on Twitter at 160 Sports Intel. How you doing, Scott?
I'm doing fantastic in fabulous Las Vegas. It's another sunny day. I'm actually one of the few people that loves this hot weather. I can go swimming at midnight down at the Rio pool, and so I'm very good.
Awesome, man. Well, you know what? That's great because it's the NBA just ended, the NHL just ended, and people have Major League Baseball and a few other things, WNBA, but nothing that's gonna bring the 90% to the windows. Let's just say it's.
The sports books are ghost towns this time of year. They are literally ghost towns, especially if you go in on a weekday afternoon. It's a ghost town in there.
Yeah, absolutely. People start getting excited a little bit later. But guys like you and me, we've started already. We started looking at the future college seasons, future NFL, and I think that's what, we try to get an edge in everything we do, don't we?
Correct. I'm doing my power ratings right now, and I preach the power ratings are the foundation of a successful season. The power ratings is where you start, where you identify the strengths and the weaknesses of the teams, and then going forward as things change, as players either exceed or don't exceed expectations or injuries or this, that, and the other, you have to keep changing things as the season progresses. But you have to start the season with a very strong foundation. That strong foundation is comprehensive power ratings. I just actually published a second book. I think it's up on Amazon by now. It's my guidebook on power ratings and pregame analysis. It's over 300 pages. My power ratings are incredibly detailed. I have a Boise State power rating that's posted right now on my website, 160sportsintel.com. If you just click on reports and records, you'll see the Boise State power ratings there, and that'll show you the level of detail that I have in my power ratings. You're not going to find anything else out there like that in terms of the level of detail for power ratings, and that is the foundation of a successful season. You have to have that power ratings to begin with, and then going forward, you just keep updating stuff based on how things progress during the season.
Well, that is fantastic. You already have some information out there for everyone. That is great, and there is just so much to talk about here, man. I'm excited to talk about your books. I was actually going to talk about the first one, but it looks like you just threw out the second one that you already written, which is amazing.
And there's a third one, but it has nothing to do with sports betting. It's on federal taxation of partnerships and LLCs. I doubt that your audience would be interested in that one.
All right. Well, we don't want to bore anybody here, so let's just stick to what we like to hear right now. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, Scott. Where are you originally from?
I'm originally from the Bay Area, and I once had a friend say to me that the greatest writer in Hollywood could not write my life story because it's been too unbelievable, and that's 100% correct. I've lived an absolutely incredible life that could easily fill 10 volumes of a book, and I actually have more than 40,000 pages of personal writing that someday I hope to whittle down into an autobiography that'll focus on life lessons, things that I've learned in life. I've actually, a lot of people wonder why they've never heard of me. And the reason why is because I've actually lived a pretty difficult life that includes 7 traumatic events. And, when you go through a traumatic event, it kind of throws your life off course and you have to try to get back on course. But I'm originally from the Bay Area. I played football and baseball in high school. I was a star athlete in football. Was two-way starter on offense and defense on the line, and played tight end as a senior. And I was a superstar punter and place kicker. And I actually had an NFL leg by the time I was in high school. I could kick a 60-yard field goal. So I decided to go down that path, and I actually was what they call a priority walk-on at UNLV. UNLV was my first college. And then I ultimately decided to transfer to a school back east because I wanted a more traditional college experience. And I suffered a very unfortunate malicious late hit in a game, which snapped my knee in half and basically ended my career. But I still hold a record at that school for a 79-yard punt that'll probably never be broken.
79-yard punt. Well, man.
Yeah. I had a very, very powerful leg, and I just needed to be more consistent.
Holy cow. So, obviously, you have a background in sports.
Yep.
And you live in the Bay Area, not too far from good old Las Vegas. And you probably obviously found some sports interest just by being in that town.
Yeah, I live in Las Vegas now. This is now my new home. I've started growing roots. I've even started getting involved politically, but I won't talk about that because I'm a strong believer in keeping politics out of sports.
As I.
So I've started growing roots here in Las Vegas, and another thing I like to do is get more involved in military charities. I'm a Marine, once a Marine, always a Marine, and I was trained to be a machine gunner, and my Marine Corps training allowed me to conquer some very severe hardships and traumas in my life, and that's if anything that I'm ever remembered as in life, I'd like to be remembered as a Marine more than anything else. And I'm now in a position with more than 200,000 veterans here in Las Vegas area that I'd like to start giving back to the people that helped me so much.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you for your service, Scott. We always appreciate that. I had no idea. It sounds like you already have a life story book going on here.
And I'm only getting started. I'm just scratching the surface.
Oh my goodness! Well, I'm excited to see when that book comes out, because it sounds like it's going to be really, really interesting. But
I don't know if anyone will believe it. Honestly, some of the things that happened in my life, people say, "Nah, that can't possibly be true." I said, "It's 100% true."
Awesome, man. Well, that's great. Well, let's tell us a little bit about your sports betting background. How did you get started?
So I would say roughly 10 years ago, I read an article in a magazine about sports betting, and it just sort of piqued my interest. So initially, my interest in sports betting was purely intellectual. I was just curious what it is, how it works. And then once I learned a little bit about how it works, I thought, hey, let's try this out myself. And I actually just did mock sports betting on a piece of paper with a fictional bankroll and see if I was able to actually be successful. And like many people in the beginning, I struggled. I couldn't really understand how to handicap a game or anything else. And I was really very interested in the intellectual challenge. So I started studying more and reading blog posts and gathering literally any information that I could. I started developing a notebook of my own personal notes about sports betting. And eventually I got to the point where after a couple of seasons of football, I was able to be successful. And I figured, all right, well, let's put my money where my mouth is and see if I can actually make money doing this. And sure enough, I did. But I practice what I preach, and what I preach is discipline. I don't place what is called a forced bet. A forced bet is a bet based on need or greed. I need some action. If you're betting for a need for action, then you're not going to be successful because you lack discipline. Or I need to make money, and then you're forcing yourself into a bet. Or you're losing money and you need to recover it. Or you're winning money and you want to keep it rolling. Those are all the reasons why most sports bettors lose, is a lack of discipline. So even from day one, when I first started betting on sports, I was basically relying on my Marine Corps training of discipline. Said, I'm just going to patiently wait like a sniper in the woods for an opportunity. They have an expression in the Marine Corps, one shot, one kill. So when you take your shot, make sure you make it. And so that's the way that I approached sports betting, was with a very disciplined and sound approach in a professional manner, simply waiting for opportunities. And I found that I was successful at it. And eventually it came to the point where I said, you know what, I might as well put all these notes together in a book format and publish it. And then one day I stumbled across Kindle Direct Publishing and said, you know what, all I have to do is upload a Word document, and now I have a published book that I can sell to the public, and that's where it is.
Wow. So obviously the intellectual side of sports betting really piqued your interest. You wanted to learn about it. You wanted to figure it out.
This may sound strange to a lot of people, but money is really not my motivating factor with sports betting. My motivating factor is the intellectual challenge. Can I be successful? Can I be the best in the world? I know there's a lot of those sports betting competitions out there, and say, all right, well, if you're the best in the world, be in this competition. The problem with the competitions are all of them violate my first rule of sports betting, which is discipline. I competed in a college football competition last year where the games that I wanted to bet on weren't even available in the competition. And I'm like, well, so I handicapped these Mountain West games, and they're not even available in the competition. So a lot of people say, all right, well, if you're so good, why don't you win one of these competitions? I say the problem is the format of the competition doesn't follow the way that I do sports betting. I patiently wait for those opportunities. So if they change the format to something where you start with a fictional bankroll and you can use it as you please through the season, and you're not required to make a certain number of bets each week, or you can make more than a certain number of bets each week, and that's the kind of competition that I'd be interested in. But that's just not the format of them right now.
Oh, I absolutely get that. And great advice there. Don't ever bet for need or greed. I'll tell you that exactly. Betting for need would scare the heck out of me. Like I preach to everybody, you have disposable income, you set it aside, you bet in small increments. No matter if you start with $100, $1,000, $10,000, or $100,000, you manage that and know
Correct.
that if that thing's gone,